The Philadelphia 76ers select Joel Embiid from Yaoundé, Cameroon, and the University of Kansas.
You know that Joel Embiid, he's not going to play. He's out for the year again.
He's played 31 games up before this season in 3 years.
How can this team get better when your best player never practices?
Hurt in college and constantly hurt in the NBA.
Embiid drive, gets past Horford. Oh, he stuffs it on him! Oh, man! Embiid with a facial. Joel Embiid turns away Towns.
He runs the floor with Simmons and finishes what he started.
Joel, you are the 2023 NBA MVP.
He's one of the most skilled big men to ever step foot on a basketball court.
Simmons in transition. What a pass to Embiid! My goodness! Posterizes Baines and the foul. Process that.
He's a polarizing superstar who can't stop scoring, but also can't seem to stay off the injury list. He's a two-way monster adored by many, perhaps loathed by more. From Yaoundé, Cameroon to the city of brotherly love, this is the story behind Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was born on March 16, 1994 to Christine and Thomas Embiid in the Cameroonian capital. Thomas, a military colonel, wanted his son laser-focused on his education and needed convincing to allow a 15-year-old Joel to even begin playing basketball. In soccer-mad Cameroon, Embiid found the transition from soccer and volleyball to the hardwood challenging. After collecting a pass around half court in his first organized game, the teenager literally turned to his coach and asked, "What do I do?" As his basic skills and knowledge of this strange new game developed, Embiid thirsted for more, and his coach at the time handed him a DVD featuring highlights of 1990s NBA centers. One of those centers was Hakeem Olajuwon, whose balletic game and African roots inspired Embiid as he watched decade-old clips. Embiid's rapid improvement helped him catch the eye of Cameroonian NBAer Luc Bamute, who first brought his new protege to Basketball Without Borders and then helped facilitate the 16-year-old's move to his alma mater, Florida-based Montverde Academy. But a stacked prep team didn't offer the chance for many minutes, so Embiid moved on to Christian Academy, the Rock School, about 90 minutes up the road. It was there in Gainesville that Embiid really found his footing. When he committed to the University of Kansas before his senior year, he wasn't even a top 100 recruit, and ESPN wrote that the big man was more prospect than player. By the time the senior finished leading the Rock to a state championship, he was touted as a 5-star recruit with massive NBA potential. Still, even as Embiid won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year honors in his lone collegiate season, no one could have envisioned the kind of superstardom awaiting him. After all, his freshman numbers were impressive, but far from mind-blowing. He played second fiddle to his own teammate, and he missed the Jayhawks postseason after suffering a stress fracture in his back. Though his ceiling made him a worthy number 1 pick, Embiid eventually fell to Philadelphia at number 3 in the 2014 draft after surgery was required not for that back injury, but for a broken navicular bone found in his right foot. While recovering from that procedure and coping with the reality that he'd likely be sidelined for his entire rookie season, Embiid and his family were dealt a devastating blow. In October 2016, younger brother Arthur died in a car accident. He was just 13. Embiid was forced to grieve that unimaginable tragedy without the distraction of basketball to help him through. And after his nightmare rookie season concluded without a second of on-court action to show for it, it was then announced that a second procedure would be required on Embiid's right foot, which wasn't healing properly. The second surgery sidelined Embiid for the entirety of the 2015-16 season, during which the ailing big man came under media fire for reported insubordination toward coaches, a lax approach to his rehab and conditioning, and drinking Shirley Temples by the pitcher. This was not what the Sixers were supposed to be building during then general manager Sam Hinkie's tenure, an era highlighted by tanking and a mantra to trust the process. The thing is, Embiid was the process. He knew it, and so did everyone else. If he couldn't be the player and person Hinkie drafted him to be, hell, if he couldn't even get on the court, the whole thing would come crashing down like a house of cards. Hinkie himself stepped down before Embiid ever took the floor, and was replaced by Brian Colangelo, the son of then Sixers chairman Jerry Colangelo. All Embiid needed to do to silence the doubters was find his way back to the court, which he finally did to start the 2016-17 season. And the big man did not disappoint, displaying the potential that Hinkie had banked on. Embiid scored 20 points in 22 minutes in his debut and appeared to be cruising to a Rookie of the Year award on averages of 20.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks. But a torn left meniscus effectively ended his campaign early. What was supposed to be the youngster's season of redemption ultimately amounted to just 31 games played. Here's the thing though, in those 31 games, a Sixers team that went 15-36 without Embiid went a more respectable 13-18, and Philly comfortably won the rookie's minutes. Though another injury was certainly concerning, the light at the end of the tunnel was finally peeking through. Everything finally came together for Embiid and the Sixers the following year. Well, mostly, anyway. This is still Joel Embiid we're talking about. It never all goes right for him. Much was made of the Sixers' decision to hand Embiid a max extension before the 2017-18 season, despite spending the overwhelming majority of his first 3 years in street clothes. But he rewarded their faith with his first All-Star campaign. It was during that 2017-18 season the full scope of Embiid's powers came into focus, never more so than during a November victory over the Lakers, when he erupted for 46 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 7 blocks.
Embiid wants it against Randall. Joel Embiid got it and a foul! Marvelous play by Embiid, who's got a career-high 41.
In only the 43rd game of his career, Embiid put together a stat line that no one in NBA history has matched. As Embiid excelled and the Sixers stock rose, the big man's penchant for lighthearted antics and trolling opponents began to garner attention. But as the then 23-year-old told me at 2018 All-Star Weekend in LA, the silliness was his way of overcoming the pain of the past. I missed 2 years. I lost my brother. So one thing I told myself when I came back was I just needed to have fun, Embiid said. And he certainly had fun carrying the Sixers to their first playoff appearance in 6 years. Embiid's All-Star campaign propelled Philly to 52 wins in 2017-18, their most since Allen Iverson took the Sixers to the NBA Finals in 2001. Unfortunately, a fractured orbital bone suffered in the final weeks of the season meant that after finally helping the Sixers get back to the postseason, Embiid had to miss Philly's first 2 playoff games. Embiid returned to a tied series against Miami and promptly helped the Sixers win 3 straight to eliminate the Heat. Though the Sixers were dispatched by Boston in 5 games during the second round, it wasn't without controversy. As the league later admitted, Embiid had been fouled on a potential game-tying layup late in Game 5. Though things had seemingly stabilized when it came to Embiid, the Sixers remained an off-court mess. During the 2018 offseason, a bizarre scandal saw Brian Colangelo's alleged burner accounts exposed, which Colangelo partially blamed on his wife. Among the burner's tweets, which also included potentially sensitive internal information, were plenty of jabs at Embiid. So Colangelo was out, and the Sixers were once again a laughingstock. But Embiid ensured the franchise was to be taken seriously on the court. And when Philly traded for Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris during the 2018-19 season, the team went from up-and-comer to legit contender. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, another title hopeful awaited the Sixers in the second round, and they had just the recipe to stop Embiid and the Sixers in their tracks. After acquiring Kawhi Leonard during the 2018 offseason, the Raptors completed their championship puzzle by trading for Marc Gasol at the 2019 deadline. In Leonard, the Raptors had one of the few players that could best Butler and Embiid in a playoff series. In the strength and veteran know-how of Gasol, they had Embiid's kryptonite. Though Embiid's supporters will blame that second round performance on an illness and point to the fact his two-way play still made him the most important Sixer on the court, the fact is he was held to 17.6 points on 37% shooting in the series, which ended on an iconic Leonard buzzer beater that brought the big man to tears.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Though Leonard's 4-bouncer was the story of the series and the postseason as a whole, the image of an inconsolable Embiid endured. To Philly fans, it was a reminder of just how much Embiid cared, that behind all the jokes and memes, all the big fella wanted to do was win. To Embiid's growing band of haters, his tears only fueled the narrative that behind all the tough talk stood a perennial loser. After a steady rise between 2016 and 2019, Embiid and the Sixers hit a roadblock during the pandemic-interrupted 2019-20 season. Losing Butler in free agency certainly didn't help. Embiid's 23 points per game that year stand as the lowest non-rookie output of his career. He failed to make an All-NBA team, and 6th-seeded Philly was swept by Boston in the first round of the playoffs. That tumultuous season also saw Embiid throw down with one of his favorite social media targets, fellow star center Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, and look at this. Whoa! Embiid going at it with Karl Anthony Towns. And the bench is empty. My goodness.
Embiid redeemed himself somewhat the following year, transforming from a mere all-star into a perennial MVP candidate. The 2020-21 campaign marked the beginning of a 4-year chapter in Embiid's career defined by prolific, barely believable production, but also by playing second fiddle to rival center Nikola Jokic. 2020-21 also served as the last year of Embiid's partnership with Ben Simmons, whose refusal to take what should have been an easy layup in Game 7 of a second-round loss to Atlanta came to define the failed promise of Simmons' time in Philly. Another memorable 2021 postseason moment saw Embiid, who had by then made a habit of hitting the crotch chop to celebrate big plays, enter Game 1 of the second round as an unofficial member of D-Generation X alongside wrestling legend Triple H. As hilarious as that entrance was, it was also a ridiculous way for an NBA player to walk into a playoff game, and it didn't help Embiid shake the label that he wasn't serious enough to win, though he did have 39 points in the Game 1 loss. Embiid followed that up in 2021-22 by becoming the first foreign-born player to win a scoring title, and the first center to do so since Shaquille O'Neal 22 years earlier. For a brief moment during the 2022 playoffs, it even looked like Embiid might finally rewrite his postseason legacy, especially when he got this measure of revenge against Toronto. But then thumb and facial injuries once again derailed his mission, and the Sixers, now featuring James Harden in Simmons' place, limped out of the second round against Butler's Heat. When Embiid finally got the best of Jokic during the 2022-23 season, claiming his first MVP award, he still had to watch the Joker's Nuggets win the 2023 championship after Embiid had completely folded in a Game 7 second-round loss to Boston. Looking for a third straight scoring title and second straight MVP award in 2023-24, Embiid, who was rewriting the record book seemingly every other night, saw that quest ended by another left meniscus injury that sidelined him for 2 months. Though he returned for the playoffs and even put up a 50-point epic in a first-round series loss to New York, he was clearly hobbled. Even the greatest measure of team success Embiid has ever enjoyed, a gold medal with Team USA at the 2024 Olympics, came with plenty of jeers about the future Hall of Famer taking the easy way out by playing for the US rather than Cameroon or France. Never mind that he's lived roughly half his life in the States and that he's never lived in France despite holding a French passport. Such is the story of Joel Embiid's enigmatic career. Even when he wins, he somehow comes out a loser. Even when he asserts himself as perhaps the greatest player alive today, at worst the second best, there's always an injury lurking just around the corner. Even when it appears everything is lining up for his Sixers to finally get over the postseason hump, as it does once again after the acquisition of Paul George, Embiid's always good for at least one baffling playoff stinker. Embiid's a 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBAer, 3-time All-Defensive Team selection, 2-time scoring champion, an MVP, and a gold medalist. His career scoring average of 27.9 points per game ranks 4th all-time. That type of rare success should be inspiring given the injuries and obstacles Embiid has overcome in his rare journey to the association. But he's also a trash-talking flopper who hasn't won enough to justify some of his antics. Embiid has yet to even play a conference finals game, and his elimination game resume is putrid. Is it rotten luck or a rotten attitude? Wherever you fall in that debate, this much can't be disputed. A decade into his NBA career, Joel Embiid has already ensured that his is at least one worth talking about. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.